talk.
So let's begin, brother. Good to see you.
It's always good to see you too, man. You don't got COVID, right, bro?
I don't got it. I've been inside the crib. If not, it's okay. But I just want to say thank you for joining. Thank you for setting this up. Thank you for coming through. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being black. Thank you for having that shirt on.
Listen, brother, I'm so honored to be here. I see you talking to all of the homies. I'm like, why couldn't y'all ain't hit me up? So I said, yo, come here. I have this idea. We should do it. It's what you're already doing.
Yes,
but without me.
But no, seriously, I think that's the best part of like just you as a person. It really speaks to just know your love for aesthetics. Mm-hmm. You know, the reason that you do what you do. It seems like there's this a bigger vision that you're trying to translate to people. Is that true? Like, what are you really trying to get across with your work? Because there's nothing about you that's, from a visual perspective, not completely well done, not completely well considered. Mm-hmm. What's the intention there? Like, why is this fascination for visual? Why is the fascination there for visuals?
I just realized how important or how valuable our image is as black people, period. And I just wanted to be able to capture it and own it because forever there's white people who own our image.
Oh, that's how we start. Okay.
Yo, look, okay, we're here right now. We might as well talk about it.
Be honest.
Like, right now I'm working on a music video in which, you know, we're trying to source archival footage, mm-hmm. and you know, this is archival footage of black people, and you know, during a certain time, and there's nothing but white people who we're conversing with. There's not black people that were like, can we have this footage? It's like, you know, white people who own it. I'm just like, you know, at the end of the day, I do believe in my heart that what we do is dope. That, you know, how we sound, how we look, our sauce, our culture, it's like to have imagery of that is like our hieroglyphs of this time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So if we're not capturing the now, capturing who we are, and own it too, like who's gonna capitalize after it later, and who's actually gonna have access to it. Yeah. You know, like we taking all these pictures on Instagram and like putting it on all over the internet, but this all could go to shit if there's no like real base for people to actually like tap into where this content might be, mm-hmm. or even you know, be able to use this in like music videos in the future, or mm-hmm. documentaries. Because you can't use certain things without a commercial license, or like you know, there's so many different ways that, you know, people find ways to sue people to get money from what they're doing, their likeness and things like that. So I just want to be able to like own that.
I got you. And before we get even too deep, let me introduce you. Let me introduce the show. See, we're on a new platform. I should say that again. I mean, we're going to track back to what you just said, but yeah, this is SHEREN. This is a podcast about my friends who are artists, their day-to-day, their experiences, their dreams, their vision, their wants, their travels, the things that are on their mind and things that inspire them. You are Anthony Prince Leslie?
Yes, I am Anthony Prince.
Videographer, director, DP, owner of Equator Productions, fly nigga, you know what I'm saying, Brooklyn bad boy, you know what I mean?
I like that because they never on the show.
You know what I'm saying? Brooklyn Badman.
Badman.
So Jamaican, another fellow brother from the island. But just to have that introduction done, but just to go back to what you were saying about like ownership of our image, which is important in such a time because we are licensing and giving our images away on Instagram for free. There isn't a commerce vehicle behind it where people are able to say, hey, I took that photo, it's mine, I want it to be shared this sort of way. There's no Creative Commons conversation about it. But I think the bigger thing that you mentioned, which is even more important, is how do we go about owning our images while still trying to share with our own community? Because these are the platforms for sharing, but how do we keep what's ours, but still use the platforms that they're the most shared on? How do you go about that? Do you think about that? Is that something that bothers you? Is it something that you just use because you have to, or?
I think that number one, like just sharing yourself on these different platforms, right? You're allowing yourself to engage with these people, but I mean, in the beginning of Instagram, everybody was just like trying to get people to come to their page in order to send them to other places. When I work with brands like Nike, H&M, they're like, you know, they're creating content so that people can break off and go to their YouTube or break off and go to their site, or to, you know, e-commerce wise, to be able to sell something. You know what I mean? So it's like, I do understand what these different social platforms, you know, what they're for. Yeah. And utilize it within their parameters until you create your own app and you can do whatever you want in it. Like, you know, we have to play by the rules, understand the rules, and then break them. There's a lot of people here on Clubhouse right now that's getting ready to, you know, take this shit to the next level. That's because, I mean, you know, right now they gotta learn it, understand it. And nobody's gonna be, you know, lit after 1 week, 2 weeks of being on here. I mean, low key, I'm seeing people getting there, following up on here, but like, at the end of the day, you know what I mean? Like, you have to, it takes time for these stuff. You know, we have to learn it. So learn each and every platform. I'm learning every platform so that I can like take advantage of it. You know?
So it's definitely a tool, but the grander thing is Equator Productions, basically. That's what you own, that's what's yours.
Exactly.
That's where everything needs to come back to. Exactly.
And Equator Productions, for everybody that's in here who don't know what Equator Productions is, but Equator Productions is a creative production studio. We shoot fashion films, commercials, music videos, documentaries is one of my favorite things to create. And I mean, at our core, we're about connecting with people, collaboration.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it has to be energetic. You know what I mean? These are these three pillars that we kind of go by. And I do feel like at our core as well, we're like pioneers in a sense. We want to be able to discover the new, you know, like not just be, you know, the only people sometimes knowing things. Like we want to share that with our community and be able to like have those conversations like, what's next, what's ahead of the curve, you know what I mean? So, I mean, yeah, ultimately I care about Equator Productions and the community that we're creating around it, because it's not just about directors and photographers, it's about the makeup artists, the stylists, you know, the assistants, the interns. It's about everybody. Everybody plays their part in that ecosystem. And when you rise up over time, you fill in other positions. But yeah, I care about Equator Productions, what we're starting there with all my lovely teammates, Ashley, Moya, Sarah, Chanel, you know what I mean?
And what's the goal? I mean, you mentioned, you touched on it, but like, what's the overall goal? Like, what's the big vision? Because we know like blackness is centralized in the work, but what's the bigger vision? How do you imagine it, you know, like existing in a long-term sense? Is it something that you want to like turn into a Netflix? Is it something that you just want it to be an agency? Is it something that you just want to stand as just a place for black stories to live forever?
Well, I mean, it's a little bit of all of that, what you just said. We do plan to grow Equator into an agency and be able to represent our, you know, creators within our community. But also I do see it as some type of an archiving source in which, I want to start to own footage. I want to own footage of us, and I want people to be able to have to come to us in order to license these footages, you know, these clips and of like our history and who we are, like, you know what I mean? And I think that's going to start with the stuff that we create here. You know, our raw footage is worth a lot of money. You know, a lot of the times when I go to, when I'm working with these other establishments, they want to pay for the raw footage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You could get $15 a second. Before you know it, you're looking at $15K off of your raw footage. That means that it has worth.
Yeah, has value.
You know, so we want to be able, I feel like we can be archival. We can, we're also going to have this community of people where we're like, leading the emerging people within our industries. You know, like I want it to be a hub for people to come and be like, yeah, I found this person through here, you know, and we vetted him. This guy is good, let's give this guy a chance. Or this young lady, excuse me. You know, they, them, whoever, you know what I mean?
So is it important that you like have a space where like young black creatives or young creatives of color can, you know, essentially come up and shine in, where they can simply say, you know, I can get my creative career started here, and it will be noticed. Is that like the part of the bigger vision? Yeah,
I mean, ultimately, our story here at Equator, in order for it to be, you know, for us to take it to the next level, it has to incorporate other people's stories. You know, like it started with my story, and it's Ashley's story. You know, my brothers who helped me help found Equator Productions when we were just a skate team.
Yeah.
You know, we just started off as a skate team, but them being a part of that story, that journey in the beginning is, you know, something that they feel like they need to continue to preserve this. So I want people to come to be a part of our community and help preserve the amazing things we're going to start to, you know, continue to create. You know, like you can't do this by yourself. It's a web. Not a dark web.
No, that's what you're saying, but I'm trying to get, I guess my thing is like I'm trying to get to an even deeper purpose. And I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, but I'm trying to get to an even deeper purpose. It's like if somebody sees your work, they see how absolutely refined you are with showcasing our bodies, these black and brown bodies, how studied you are with learning new techniques, how important aesthetics is. Like, what do you truly, other than expressing some sort of art, what do you, and the value of it, but what are you truly trying to get at? Is it connecting the community? Is it connecting community with something that's creative? Is it showing some sort of like standard of what black image could be in this sort of like 2020 experience?
I think it's a little bit, I think for me, it's documenting the now. Like I said, again, I feel like if we document the now for what it is, it's timeless. Yeah. And I want to be able to continue to, like, just, I feel like our work will be timeless. For example, I'm looking at clips from the 60s, you know, like the Black Panther Party, and I'm just like, wow, you know, like we damn near here right now, again, talking about the same things, doing the same things, and, you know, they're timeless forever, and that's like, that was powerful for me because it was like, okay, I know how I need to navigate in these spaces. I need to know what these laws are so that when a cop does come to me with some bullshit that I can, you know, be able to speak up for myself and like, you know, say what I need to say in order to get myself out of a situation where it can be, you know, an issue. But the greater purpose, I feel like I want to create stories in which people can see themselves in. Our voices are pretty much underrepresented, and I feel like for forever, we are always behind the lens. I mean, in front of the lens. Yeah. We're never really behind the lens, and I think that we've tapped into this world most recently with like having access to cameras and stuff like that. We tapped into a world in which most of us, or all of us, are like behind the lens, and we understand, you know, the power in capturing imagery. And for me, being a young black man, there's a lot of stories that I didn't see, or stories that I've seen that I know that can be perfected. You know, stories that aren't true that should come to light. And
what are some of those stories?
Stories like young kids in the hood that don't need to actually be hood to live in the hood. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like a story that I have that's that I'm working on right now is called Freebird. Yeah. And in Freebird, in my film, is about a young Jamaican American man who wants to pursue ballet and modern dancing, but because of his social norms, he faces a bunch of barriers within his immediate community and in his family too. So there's a lesson in there for, like, you know, the Jamaican parents who have first generation American born children who they don't really completely understand. Yeah. This movie can help open those doors or those conversations for these families and for other people. So I want to be able to, like, you know, instill stories within the films that I do create, so that, you know, these particular things that I'm drawn to, or like stories that I'm drawn to, can then be displayed on screen for people to be like, aha, or like, word, I could see myself in that position. Maybe I should do this tomorrow. Yeah,
I see what you're saying, because it's like when I saw the preview of it, obviously I haven't seen the full movie yet, but it's like you're showing a new narrative that we haven't quite caught up with the zeitgeist. It's like, you know, I was speaking to Maruf in the last episode, and he was saying there's like so much of what he does that his parents don't understand. Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of us struggle with, particularly like as the first generation of this creative community of people who within like the past 10 years have really been like, oh, I can do this thing that I love, that I'm passionate about, that's creative, and that could be my entire career. Mm-hmm. You know, like our parents, I was born in Jamaica. My mom is Jamaican. She came over here. She doesn't know what the hell I do. I do some job on the computer. But what I always say is that she worked her ass off, and her dream is so big of coming to this country that she dreams so big that she doesn't even understand what my dream is. Yeah. And think about how big of a dream is that. And I think that's something that we always got to thank them for, is like that while they may not understand, it's because they may not have a story to put it to, and that's what you're creating. You're creating the more generalized, mainstream, consumable story for a parent or a mother to be like, oh, that's what my son is interested in. Mm-hmm. Oh, he likes ballet, whether he's gay or not. You know, he just loves this artistic form. He loves expressing himself. Mm-hmm. I realized just like that sort of disconnect with the older communities, that their thing was like, we have to work so we don't have to, always be in survival mode.
Yeah.
And now what they need to realize, or what they are coming to realize, is probably a better way to say it, is that they've gotten out of survival mode. They put us up, they set us up in a space where we can now dream the dreams that they never had a chance to dream.
Yeah.
We can now fail in a way that they never even had a chance to even dream of failing, or even have a chance to succeed in a real way.
I tell my mom, I work with these people, like, Mommy, I did this thing with,
Yeah.
this person, or like, she's just like, oh, really? Okay, cool. How much them pay you? I'm like, Mommy, this is huge. This is great. But it's like, it just also shows you how much of a bubble that we're like working in, and how much we're creating in a silo as much as it's in the public. That like not a lot of people understand what we do as creatives, and I'll say in more particular that within the film and photography world, just visual art world.
Yeah.
And I feel like also it's because it's never really been open to certain people. You know what I mean? Like understanding film buffs, etc., always looked up a certain way. And for my mom to be a film buff, I'm asking too much of her. But I do want to be able to sit down with her and be like, break this down with her, like, yo, this is what this is, and they're like, okay, she'd be open to that.
Yeah.
So that's what I feel like I'm ultimately creating for. To like, number one, I feel like my family to be like, yo, there's other opportunities out there, to do something dope.
I think it's even bigger than your family. Just what you said, like literally, I think we're hitting on something. It's like what you're really doing with Equator, and I'm seeing it now just even more clearly, is that you're creating the stories, the do the right things, the Spike Lee joints for this new millennium that we're in. It's like we for a very long time have seen black people depicted, whether in a Cosby fashion or in a more like mainstream 9 to 5, go to work to finance, blah, blah, blah. And that was even a struggle to get there. And now you're showing the next generation of, I guess the black experience, while it still has the finance and those more traditional family elements, but there's like a creative class coming up of people who are just doing whatever the fuck they want, whether it's a rapper, designer, dancer, fashion designer.
But that's the other thing, like these people are rappers, dancers, designers, all in one. You know what I mean? Like there's so many people out there doing so many things at once, and not to say that, some people can, they're just pushing the boundary. We're pushing it now. Like I'm just like really interested too into knowing like, I know our parents can't really understand what we're trying to do now, but like when did parents ever understand?
Exactly.
What am I gonna understand when I have my kids and I'm like, what are you trying to do? It's like I'm trying to, I'm trying to go to the moon.
Right.
I'm like, boy, you chilling, you wilding right now. You need a number one, pausing breaks, going to the moon, not for us. You know what I mean? But I'm just open to limitless possibilities, and like, it's a cycle, but also it's like, how can we break it?
Yeah. To bring it back to Freebird, is there anything about that narrative that's indicative of your life, that's about you in a sense? Because you were a dancer, you studied like modern dancing.
You trying to put me on the spot?
I mean, there's obviously points in the movie that seem to be indicative of you. Like, are you a Jamaican dude growing up in fucking like, Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, wearing like, look at this shirt. Shit is beautiful.
All right, I'm gonna tell you right away. First of all, my shirt that I got on right now is from Theophilio.
Like, nobody knows what that is. It just looks fire.
Yo, this guy, he's a young Jamaican man as well, and he is doing his thing, and I feel like I just resonated with him because I understand the emotion that he puts in, curating the fabrics that he do create. But you guys will see the video. I know you can't see how I'm looking right now, everybody on Clubhouse, but I was
fancy as fuck. Really fancy.
But within Freebird, it is about me. It's like I can't tell nobody else's story but my story. I went to school I went to Talent Unlimited high school, and when I went to school, I went there for drama, and I was just like, damn, I really love, being in front of the camera, and then, I like dancing already because like, being a young Jamaican American, we used to dance in the middle of the street, pasa pasa, any dance song, go on YouTube and type in pasa pasa, and you'll see what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? But, it's crazy.
I used to watch the videos growing up, and literally people just skip whining in the street anywhere.
But from there, it was just like I understood what dance was, but I wanted to understand more about dance. And it was no other way for me to like understand dance more than to venture off into other categories of what dance is. And I went to a school where it was ballet and modern. We had classes in school, but then we had the privilege of also going to a dance studio, like a working dance studio named Martha Graham, where like a lot of the greats, you know, are training there. So I've been able to get that experience, and going back to Canarsie, Brooklyn, you know, the Floss, for anybody who know, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't telling all my homies that I was doing ballet, but I told a few of them, they're like, oh, nah, you feel me? You wildin', bro, you doing ballet? I see you out there with the white people, you feel me? Like, and it's like, okay, yeah, like, they don't really understand that world. And like, I was that connection for them. And I feel like this happened in so many different ways with other people that, you know, it could help even my community. Like, oh, yo, I'm open to this because my homie did this. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of us in Canarsie, I feel like growing up, it was like we were stifled by each other because we only understood what each other did, and whatever we did just was pretty much contained into that area of Brooklyn. You know what I mean? So it was just like eye-opening for me, and also for the people around me, to see me like also transition from like dancing in the middle of the street to like wearing, you know, ballet flats in class.
Oh, you really did it.
Yeah, I really did it, bro.
Dude. You're really that dude.
Yo, don't look up no videos on YouTube.
But no, it's not even like a funny thing. I'm just laughing because you really, I mean, it's indicative of how you dress now, how your work speaks, how it speaks to your work now. Like, you seem like to be uber confident in yourself.
Yeah.
Like 100, no. Let me say correctly, 100%. You know, because there's and you just, even in your personal expression with your clothing, like just the way you literally are willing to do anything, from Izzy Miyake to your tight up shirt that y'all wear now. But no, but it looks beautiful. That's what I'm trying to say. I think that level of just being like, this is me. I believe this is beautiful, and this is my vision of the world, and living in that shit truly 100% from top to bottom is important to see, particularly from black people and particularly from black men. Because I understand, coming from a Jamaican childhood, how it is, and how anything that's outside of the norm is completely automatically shunned and seen as something that's not, you know, it's automatically sexualized as being either straight or gay for some weird reason, and it's an extremely masculine culture. So it's
extremely masculine, but it's funny because it's an extremely masculine culture, but it's also very feminine, because guys will wear, like I said, there will be a guy wearing a see-through shirt, you feel me, and going to the dance, and nobody will really mess with him, and the ladies are like, okay, cool, you got nice fabrics.
But that's the confidence, though.
But okay, that is the confidence part, but it's just crazy that, like, if you see a guy out here wearing the same shirt like this and going to the hood, that's an issue. You know what I mean?
So how'd you get over that? How did you get past that? How did you get past any sort of judgment or like anybody looking at you as a spectacle? Poppy show, I just said.
Poppy show. Yeah, it was conversation. It's a conversation. Like, anything I wear is a conversation. Like, yo, I like your shirt. Thanks. Where you get it from? I got it from here. This is where you get it from. What do you do? You know what I mean? And then we kind of sprawl off into that. And, you know, I also wear things that's like representative of my character. Like, sometimes I could be random. You know, sometimes I can be really well coordinated. Sometimes I could be really flowy. And, you know, I think that people don't even realize that their brains and their eyes are doing the work for them when they see you. That's presentation. What they think of you is pretty much based off of whatever they can, like, judge you by. So if you can't hear me speak, you looking at me, you like, okay, he a rude boy, you feel me? Like, he moving like this, you know what I mean? He walk like this. Or, you know, or like, yo, he a hood nigga because, you know what I mean, his pants are sagging, it's a little bit more baggy than usual.
So let me ask you, what do you think people see when they see you? Or what do you want them to see? Both of those questions separately.
When people see me, I want them to see part of themselves.
That's cute. What you want them to see?
I do, because I do feel like, I want them to see the fit, but I feel like you could only really speak to people that sometimes you can relate to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
So like, I attract the people that I want to speak to.
That makes sense.
So,
that makes sense.
You know, you would talk to me in the street,
of course.
The other person's not gonna talk to me because they probably can't connect with me.
I think it's interesting because it's twofold for me. Of course, there used to be a time, particularly, you know, a few years ago, before like fashion was so democratized, to where, like, you know, it became something that used to be a select group of people that you could walk down the street and see somebody wearing something and know that person would be your friend, because just nobody else is going to be on that. Yeah. And but the thing about it, you still dress like that. And one of the few people that I know who, if somebody sees you, they're like, yo, this dude, he's on some artistic fly shit, and I want to know what's going on immediately, just from how you present yourself. And a lot of people who even are still artists don't even present themselves like that, because it's not as, how do I put this in a way that doesn't seem pretentious? I think there's a way to be an artist, and it's you're refined. You have a high aesthetic. You like quality. You like luxury. But maybe as we grow over time, we come to like seem to take less risks. Mm-hmm. You look like, when I see you, I see confidence. I see risk. I see newness. I see new ideas. I see someone striving to do different things. Someone striving for self. And I feel like even for people who really still have that level of fashion to them, it's still it's become a uniform in a sense. Mm-hmm. And you seem to not have like allowed yourself to become someone who adheres to a uniform. You're still trying to like find new ways of seeing things, and that's reflective in your work as well.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I want to break the mold overall.
There we go. That's what I wanted to hear.
You know what I mean? Like, I just want to break the mold. Like, it's nothing more than like when somebody's spinning you in a circle and then all of a sudden they stop and they go the opposite direction. Fuck your head up. Fuck your stomach up. All of that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what it is a part of me, but I just feel like sometimes I just want to like change shit. I just want to change the other direction, because like sometimes you get used to shit. People get used to you being a certain way and they feel like, sometimes for me they overstep boundaries, or I might be too comfortable with who I am or what I'm doing sometimes, and I'm like, okay, I want to grow. Like every single time I experience a little bit of hardship in what I do or a little bit of difficulty, it always helped me change it up. Mm-hmm. It always helped feed the next idea.
Yeah.
So, I do want to continue to like break the cycle of, these things that we don't want to continue anymore. We don't want to perpetuate, like, at least things that I don't want to do. Like, wearing the same outfit every day. I mean, I love wearing the same, when I like an outfit, I really like an outfit, but I want to change up the vibe. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I want to come into my house, I want to come into my space and be like, this is new, this is something fresh, this is clean. It might get a little exhausting trying to make shit new all the time. Yeah. But I think that it could be in the most subtle way.
So what type of newness are you trying to create in your work specifically? I know we keep going back to the same thing, but I'm just trying to get to a deeper level.
No, definitely.
Because I see new angles, I see new colors, I see new edits. Like, everybody like knows when they're going to see a piece of work from me that you're going to see something different, something that's special. And I get it now. It's a constant iteration of self and art, from style to your work and otherwise. So like, what are you iterating on now is I guess what I would want to say. What is the vibe that you're trying to create?
I want to go to film. I want to shoot movies. I want to shoot movies in general. So like this last campaign that I just worked on with Nike, like the color correction was so important to me because the way I lit it said something. You know what I mean? And like me color correcting that by myself, I understood that the green didn't need to be this tint of green, because that also is a pull on your emotions, like what the colors look like, really make you feel something. And we're shooting outside and outdoors, and I want people to see those greens. I want people to see like, those tans, the colors in the rocks, the colors in the water. You know what I mean? I even have shots where there's like rainbow glares. And these are little things that I feel like can help tell the story. There's, a lot of this content that I'm creating with, these brands are like more works that are like, hyper visual, less of the story, but I want to include the story, the narrative, to be, these little details in the films that will allow people to be like, oh, I get it. You know what I mean? Something a little bit more deeper. And I like, just overall, I just feel like I'm trying to elevate my work in terms of the equipment I'm using to shoot it, how, the team that I'm bringing together, forever I always wanted to use a dolly. Yeah. Right? And the dolly is just a camera that goes on a track. It can go back and forth, right? But then they have dolly tracks that turn, and then you can just keep connecting it. Like if you think of like a railroad, and you just keep putting track by track to like be able to keep it going. I want to be able to sit on the seat with the camera in my hand and then pan the camera to wherever I want to go and be riding on the dolly. Yeah.
What does that mean to you? I know it's a Spike Lee trope, but what does that mean to you?
Okay, this is one of Spike Lee's number motifs. One. Yeah, this is one of his visual motifs, and I feel like I'm creating those visual motifs for myself right now. you know, in terms of how the camera moves and what you feel like when you see it is how people's going to be determined if this is an Anthony Prince Leslie film.
Got you. I see. You're trying to create these sort of visual signatures that people can always refer back to and be like, oh, that was Anthony. That was you, irrespective of whether they see your name or not.
Yeah. And if they don't say my name, they're going to say my community. They're going to say the people that are associated within this, you know, this world that we're creating, this hub that I want to create with the people in my community. You know what I mean? So
talk about it. Talk about those people then. Talk about your creative partnership, specifically with, you know, Ashley, young fiance who's listening. We see you.
My fiance, who is also a current guest on SHEREN, and I was just like, a past guest on SHEREN, and you know, that talk also motivated me too. I'm like, I love how she talks about herself and what she do. I don't really know how to talk to people that much, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm behind the computer, I'm trying to understand what the camera is, you know what I mean? I'm trying to understand my direction, creating these briefs, these templates, and also running this production company with her.
Yeah. So how does she help specifically? Because I know for a fact when you guys come together, it's like Megatron, Voltron, it's a bigger vision.
Yo, Ashley is an amazing person.
No,
all good.
It's all good. It's all good. This is the real world. So the guest.
So we have a quick guest in here, but yeah, no. Ashley is executive producer at Equator Productions. She is in charge of, you know, new relationships, new partnerships with, you know, these other companies and brands. She's usually the
Oh my God, are you telling me her job description? I mean, what does she mean to you? How does she make you feel? How does she inspire you?
Oh, I thought we was talking about film.
What you want me to do?
You gotta be clear.
I wasn't clear. My bad, Mac. That's why I clarified myself.
All right.
Come on. Give me. I want the emotionality. I want the raw sauce.
Here it is.
I want it. Make me cry.
Ashley is my number one love. I can't tell you that I've ever had love at first sight until I met her, honestly, because I just saw her in you know, this event. I went to Fashion Night Out. I seen her right away, knew that I needed to be with her. Like, it was literally like a 0.2 seconds. I don't know how I saw her, but I just looked around and I saw her. I was like, I need to talk to her. We didn't talk for 2 years after I introduced myself to her, and then she finally responded to me on Instagram, like on a comment on one of my photos, and then that's probably.
So text her. What she said? What she said? Don't talk about me.
She said, "It's weird me listening in. I'll listen after y'all."
Because I saw she immediately left. She was like, "Nah, I'm out of this."
But so what happened was I was just like, you know what? So we finally talked and we met, and then like we just been hanging out ever since. She came to my studio in LES. The first time she commented on my Instagram, we actually talked again. Yeah. She came by, we talked, and then I literally, since 2015, I've seen this girl almost every day. Literally almost every day. And I was just like, okay, 2 months in, she's like, she want to create a sketching class. And I was like, oh, what? I'm down. I know some models. I could take pictures. And then she created the flyer, created a playlist, and then we did a sip and sketch, in which we invited people to come and draw and, you know, kind of break the mold of what that, you know, what that world usually looks like. It usually was sterile, which Ashley experienced here in New York, and she was just like, I'm not trying to do this no more. But we bonded there, and we were just like, damn, I could actually work with you. Yeah. You know what I mean? I didn't think that I could actually work with her, but she was like, I was like, we gotta do it, we're gonna do it. And she said, oh shit, we gotta do it. I'm like, yeah, we gotta do it. So now we're doing it. We're in it.
It's not an easy thing to like you live where you guys live together and you guys work together, and it takes a special type of couple to like know that I can be around this person 24/7. They won't be static. There won't be any sort of like just friction. I mean, there's people I've loved who I would never want to work with. Dude, you know, and there's people I love now that I'm learning how to work with. It just takes talk to me about that energy. Like, how did you guys figure that out? How does it work?
I don't even know how we figured that out. All I know is that we were honest and we were willing to have those conversations that we don't want to have. And I trust her judgment. I trust that she cares about me because she wouldn't tell me that I look crazy unless I look crazy. Yeah. Or unless like she know another lady's gonna look at me, then she's like, nah, that don't look right. Take that, put a shirt on, not a tank top. You know what I mean? But overall, she is, we figured out our balance after, you know, we've had a few arguments. We have to argue.
That's just natural. That's his life.
You know, like we have to not agree on some shit. And what we did after we didn't agree on those things is what really helped us take our relationship to the next level and then take our work life to the next level. Obviously, at work and relationship, that shit bleeds sometimes. That shit is a little scary because like you could be hyped off of emotions and you know what I mean? You have to write an email next, or you be hyped on in a conflict and you got to get on a get on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like we understand where and how to compartmentalize when we need to be partners, when we need to be in relationships. So we take time off, and you know, well, we try to take time off, but we do that. We also, you know, we find times to like go on trips to visit family, and then also with that, at work, you know, like we try to limit that to what that space is, so that, you know, push come to shove, we'll deal with it. There's times where like we're in the thick of a project. Like for instance, we just did this project with In the Black, which is the nonprofit. Equator Productions helped 5 filmmakers around the world create 5 short fashion films with 50 plus designers, and we wasn't sleeping because there's different time zones. You know what I mean? It made us a little cranky, but we have a team of support and we try to move with integrity in every single way. So we created a foundation of people who can check us. Like I know, you know, Moy, who's also Ashley's partner in ASHYA, which is Ashley's brand now, which is Ashley's brand. But she checks me. She's like, Anthony, you didn't have to do all of that. You know what I mean? Or Anthony is not that serious. Or Ashley might come to me like, it depends on like, you know, the situation, and like we try to keep each other in check. And
that's a strong level of respect and humbleness that I don't think people quite understand how difficult it is to navigate, because it's hard to mix the personal and the business, because people really get in their feelings about things, and then things bleed to okay, we had a disagreement in business, then it bleeds to the relationship, or disagreement in a relationship that bleeds into the business, and it's just like a recipe. It could be a recipe for like serious disaster. So I've always been fascinated by the two of you guys, the partnership, the teamwork, and the fact that you guys literally seem to become stronger when together. Like it's like you guys have a beautiful balance of the things that you guys like. It's additive, if that's the way to do it. Like what she brings and what you bring, they're like different but the same enough for them to like really mix beautifully together. You can just see that in the work that you've been producing over the years, and increasingly as she's joined, it's getting, the purpose is even stronger, and you get a chance to focus on your visuals, so the visuals get stronger. It's just a beautiful blend that I just need to specifically call out, because I think a lot of people are trying to figure out how to navigate creative partnerships, and the only other people that I've seen do it well are like Trav and Cynthia with Maroon World. And then it's just you and Ash. Those are the only 2 people that I know out of all the friends that I have that are in like deep long-term relationships that actually, who are both creatives, but that actually can work together.
I just think it's so, I just think it's so important that like, to know that you don't have to work with a partner. Like I think when some people that want that sometimes want it for the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? Like if you want commitment and you understand what commitment is, then you won't give a fuck about anything else. You know, like your eyes are gonna wander. You know what I mean? The way you wanna create. Sometimes you're gonna want to be in. You know, you want to sometimes have your own space. You know what I mean? But it's the focal point, the core of the relationship, which is gonna remind you right away, like, okay, this is why you're doing this. I can't run Equator Productions without Ashley. Like, she literally is my backbone there, and like I feel like I've been able to like take my hands off of the company overall, so I can like focus on my creative development of like how I see my work, you know, playing out in the future, with her being there. And then like, you know, now we have a team, and we're like 4 employees. You know what I mean? Which is crazy. There's a lot of money coming out of the bank account, brother.
He's like, yeah, I better be working. I'm watching cutting these checks.
Yo, dead ass. So it's like, all right, like let's do this. Like I wanna make bigger money. Like this, we worked on projects of 300,000, 200,000, 100,000, 50K. I was working on a project for $1,500 like 4 years ago. doing recap videos for Fabco, working with these art galleries who gave me a space in exchange to create profiles for all their artists. And I got to connect with artists. I got to work on my craft, but I didn't get paid. You know what I mean? I got a space that brought my value up, but I just knew I had to work harder. So I do feel very fortunate to be in a space now to be with somebody who actually cares about the business that we're creating, but also care about me.
Yeah.
And that's why I say I want to create an agency, and me and Ashley put our minds together and was like, if we need to create an agency because we figured it out between me and you, we're going to bring on a staff of other producers and who think with a business sense of mind so we can help build these other artists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so that conversation can go far away, but like, I'm doing my own research, every day, even when it comes to, agencies in general, how they run, how they've been able to be successful at what they do. And, I want to understand what that structure is, and I want to do it our way, break the mold again.
Yeah.
Newness again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Hit
saying?
them with a new fit, exactly.
You feel what I'm saying?
An agency, on the agency model.
Yeah.
So quick question then. Do you feel like you're successful in this present moment today, standing up, breathing?
Fuck yeah, I'm so damn successful.
That's right.
I'm so damn successful because not to bring anybody else on board, but there were a lot of people who didn't want me to actually be successful at what I do.
What do you mean? Who? I'm not saying who. We don't have to name them names, but like who was
I'll
stopping?
say who. I'll just say like just people who I moved on from in past relationships, working relationships, who saw me as nothing but a little black boy with a camera. You know what I mean? Like, and I knew that. Like, they didn't think I would get any more further, but I just continued to get further because this journey is for the long haul. You know what I mean? Like, it's not about just what's happening now. It's like your journey is what keeps you here. You know what I mean? Like, what was it? John Lewis? I forgot the guy who's in the. I think he most recently passed.
Just go ahead, say what it is. We'll
John
figure
Lewis,
it out. I
right?
think you're correct.
I think so. But he was at the march when he was going across the bridge with Martin Luther King, and he been able to live to actually see his flowers. You know what I mean? Like, people recognize and understand who he is and what he did to be able to push the culture forward or push the civil rights movement forward. Like, I watched the Black Panther. I watched the Black Panther Party film, not Black Panther, yesterday, and I saw him in there, and I was just like, that's there forever. Like, he did that. He was one of those people the first people, frontliners, who were combating and going against what the police wanted them to do, what the FBI wanted them to do.
Do you feel like you're a person in your specific field that you're trying to make a similar sort of change?
Yeah, I want to be able to show people that production company could look a different way. I want to show people that a director could look a different way. You know what I mean? Like, there's different ways things exist, and there's a very general idea of what the world is, because we have people who just think from a general mindset. People in Middle America don't get to experience the amount of diversity that happens in New York.
I think that's very important to say.
You know what I mean? So it's like they don't understand black people to be no other way but this, which is why their minds can be brainwashed.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying I'm not just saying black people just because I'm black. I'm just saying it because of the point that if you have no reference, you're going to create your own judgment.
And you want to be that reference to them.
I'm that reference.
Gotcha. Okay, I see. You got to say it into the camera.
Hey, I'm Anthony Prince Leslie, and I'm your reference.
Let's do it over here. We're doing like a simulcast at the same time recording this. But I appreciate that, because that's an interesting topic to go on, particularly you've given a recent election, not to talk about politics, but I think it's important to talk about just the fact that America truly is like a melting pot, in the sense that there's different narratives, there's different people, there's different ways of being that. There's different ways of being that we need to all realize exist simultaneously. And the less we know about each other, the more judgments that we can create about one another, which aren't true, which is important. Which is important to have new stories told, which is important to have representation. You know, but I feel like this is a crazy thing to say. I'm actually even hesitant to even say it.
Say it.
I'm
you could cut it out.
I'm not gonna cut it out, but because I don't want to be. It's not like I don't want to be too empathetic at the cost of like people thinking that I'm overly empathetic.
Yeah.
But I think it deserves to be said. I wonder who's the Equator productions of white people. You know what I mean? Like who's showing these sort of like, there's 71 million people who voted for, you know, let's just keep it general. Let's vote for either candidate, right? So there's one person, there's half the country that doesn't understand the identity, struggle, day-to-day, you know, existence of another. So I feel like what's missing in that gap is maybe people feel like they haven't seen themselves in a while. Maybe that's the reason why individuals like Trump and others are allowed to flourish the way they do and have done over the past couple of years. Because he was speaking to an existence that no one else was speaking to. Like that's what I'm trying to say. Like who's going to be that Equator Productions for the other side? I think there's something that's insidious and negative that's created when people feel like they're not being seen. And I know as Black people, we feel like we're hyper visible, but still not seen, still not cherished. Our humanity isn't given its full spectrum of greatness, or full spectrum of like, I don't know, I can't find the exact word to go after that, but we're not seeing as fully human even in today's age. To many people, I would assume. I think on the other end of it, white folks would agree, or people from middle America, people from rural America, feel like their humanity isn't seen by many of us on the coast. Like there is no Equator Productions for them. There is no Instagram that shows them. They are censored and marginalized.
But there's another thing though, because I'm willing to. It's not like I don't want to work with other people. It's not like I don't want to work with white people. It's like I don't want to work with Asian people. You know what I mean? It's just the fact that I understand the power and us building our visual identity right now in media. You know what I mean? And I definitely want to be able to capitalize on that for myself, for my well-being, but also for my community. And, you know, I'm open to doing that with other people. But we got to get this shit tight and right first before we can allow other people back into what we're creating for ourselves, because that's usually when we lose our grips. It becomes gentrified.
100% agree. I was trying to do the advocate, bro.
You know what I mean? But like, I do think that there is a balance to having a diverse community, and I don't want to limit myself to that. And if you know, the people in Middle America was more open to diversity, then they can see themselves. You know, they can find those connections in these people that they've been suppressing for years. They can find those connections. We are people at the base. We're not a color.
I agree, man. I think Blackness should be universal. Like, there's nothing about that I disagree with. I just been trying to make sense of it myself, because you're a person who creates images. You're a person who creates stories, and I feel like as somebody said, what is white culture? I wouldn't know what that means. I don't know what white culture is.
No, I don't.
You know what I mean? I don't. Like, was it TikTok? I don't know. I don't know what white culture is.
It's corporate.
And that's the thing about it. And it's, I think, and it's not for us to define for them. It's for them to come up for themselves. But I think there's something, when you can't define yourself and know where you're from, and you don't really know where you're going, it creates a resentment. And I think just as a nation that has to heal, as a person who is trying to, I want to be someone who connects people and not someone who shuns people or closes them off. I want to be someone who, while I'm very interested in primarily in Black stories and Black bodies and Black, you know, the Black community, I think it's important to have an eye on these people outside of our community, so we can, you know, eventually come to the table to discuss what needs to be discussed as, you know, citizens of this country in a sense.
Yeah. Oh, there's also something I want to add to that too. I do think that in understanding more in this research that we're doing about ourselves and like our communities, that we're learning about ourselves, like we're learning more about who we are, what, you know, who did what in our culture, and who do we see as heroes in our community is also very, very, very important, because forever we've been given other heroes that wasn't our complete champions, you know what I mean, in a sense. And I do think it's amazing now that we're like understanding who these heroes are, and we're also like in a new time where like the heroes that we are creating, the heroes that are coming amongst us are like peers and people that we know.
Who's a hero to you then, as an example?
a hero to me, I would say Tyler Perry, because he created a lane. He created this production. It's not even a production anymore, man. Like this ethos, this web he created, like in Atlanta, with all these crazy dope studios that have sets that are built out. Mm-hmm. Like what I mean, the people that come there to work there in Atlanta. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, he really, like, it's one of the, I don't want to overstate it, but just from my perspective, maybe because I'm a creative and I love this world so much, I think he did one of the most phenomenal things of like the past, I would say 20 years for the black community, to have a complete infrastructure of sound stages in Atlanta, considering what we're trying to do from a culture perspective, is something that really can't even be put into words. If you think about it, it's like creating like a Universal Studios right now.
Exactly.
Like, but people don't. Exactly. It's that monumental. So where if I'm a black filmmaker or a black person trying to create some sort of anything, any sort of like visual, I can go to this black-owned studio, invest back in the community, which is him, and have my place like championed, have my stories championed. He wasn't accepted by the Hollywood, so he created his own Hollywood.
Yeah.
And there's just something powerful about that. We keep talking about how do we create these new things, and he's doing it. So
he's doing that, and I feel like that's along the lines that I want to be. I want to create our own Hollywood in New York. Every single time I feel like I throughout my whole life, you feel me? Throughout my whole career, I feel like I've been always taught like, you need to go to LA. You'll do so good in LA. I'm like, I went to LA and I was like, I really didn't fuck with it like that. I did. I loved it. I met a lot of cool people, but I just love New York. Like, it's so gritty. It's so real. It's so, not to say any other place isn't real, but like, it just has it stinks here, but it's,
there's a togetherness here that I think is undeniable. In other places, there's something about the proximity, the fact that we're all on top of each other, the fact that we just all have to see each other, take the train. Like it's like even if you're rich in New York, you still got to go through the snow. You still got to probably take the train because the congestion is too bad to take a car. Like there's universal like experiences that we all as New Yorkers have to have, and that's the one thing unique about New York, probably than anywhere else in the world.
It puts you all on the same playing field.
There's no gated communities here in that type of way. Yeah. There's a leveling feature here that's I think is completely unique, and makes things a little bit different here than anywhere else. That's what I found from my travels. That togetherness can't be replicated anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, unless you like stupid rich and you like really don't have to talk to anybody. But yeah, definitely like there's just this energy, and I just feel like I want to create that here in New York, like Industry City. Like, let me build out a studio here. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Let me build out a proper studio here, and it's over, because I'm gonna have people coming from all over to come just to work at our studio, just because the type of environment that I want to create. Yeah. I want to create a safe space, a place where you can ideate. When you come in there, you smell it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, just the smell in the air, the type of aroma that's just gonna be in the air is gonna be like lavender and fucking, fresh lavender.
Talk about the scent.
You know what I mean? Like, it just makes you think differently. Like,
I think it's important, like as you say, ideation. I don't forget I think it's important. It is important that we just, it's a community that we're in, this creative, like this new black renaissance of creativity. Like, I think while we've somewhat matured over this past decade, I still think we need to like allow ourselves to do what you do, as we've been talking about, like stay experimenting, stay creating, stay in a space where we want to still create things that are new. And I think we're getting to a place where it's like everything needs to be so polished, we're not willing to make mistakes anymore. Like, this is a show that I do from Zoom on my computer and my crib. Yep. And now we're in Camp David, and again in front of my bookshelf. Once you guys see it, you're gonna be like, "Wow, this dude's rich." Yeah. But in front of my bookshelf, and we're doing something new. And I think that ability to like have it simulcast on, have it sound on Clubhouse while doing it, just like we got to keep experimenting. We got to keep saying to ourselves, like, how do we do something different? Yeah. Again, doing a recorded podcast that's visual while being on a Clubhouse is something brand new. It's going to be clunky. It's going to be fucked up. We're going to make mistakes. But if you don't try, you never know.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we always put ourselves in a place where it's comfortable enough for us to like, okay, I'm just going to do this thing. And that's great and that's cool. But like, what happens when you're like just being complacent? You know what I mean? Like, you're doing what it is you do to meet your requirements to then go home and then, do it all over again. Like, we don't need to do that no more.
I just wonder, can you really even say that you're passionate about something if you're not willing to fail to be great at it?
Yo, when I be failing, I be biting my teeth like, damn, but I already know that as soon as I failed and I realized that I failed and my mistake and what I did, I was like, I'm gonna kill this shit next time. I'm gonna body this and I'm gonna make sure they can't say shit to me. You feel me? Like,
yeah, I feel you.
I wanna bring that type of energy. Like, yo, I used the wrong lens for this shot, I know, but you know what? Wait till I get this next project, or you know what? I'm working on a passion project right now. I'm gonna create the same shot, but I'm gonna add a variation on this. Fuck, they had to go this way, not this way. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
absolutely though, absolutely.
And yeah, so I definitely like, and also I love listening to like the young creators, yo. Like, you know, there's this young boy and young DP director, Wayne Reed. He's like literally my protege now, and he has a fresh eye, and I could just learn from him just by looking at his work, but just hearing him talk about what he doing, how he's passionate, and what he wants to do. You know what I mean? It also inspires me too. So like, even though I feel like I'm some ways into my career, and you know, this person who's still very, you know, fresh is like, you know, expressing to me how they feel about what they want to do. It's also like, damn, like, okay, that's how you feel. It either reminds me, or it's like something I need to think about when working with other young creatives and, you know, people just emerging on the scene. I want to be able to like, I feel like we, both the people in this relationship of like creating with each other, need to be able to learn from each other, because then also it allows for us to also be more vulnerable when we're creating. And creativity is all about being vulnerable. Absolutely. You know, like if you didn't give a fuck about what you did, but you felt it in your heart, that shit is gonna hit. And that's why there's a lot of people on Instagram doing dumb shit, but they probably really feel like that. And those are probably some of the people like, why the hell do they have so much followers? They just love what they do, and they just do it, and they continue to just profit off of just being themselves and creating for themselves. And shit, if I didn't have to do so much work, I swear to God, I'd be on Instagram acting a fool. But thank God, like I said again, I got Moya and Ashley. You check my ass, be like, Anthony, you doing too much. Enough reels for the day. Like, sit down.
But even just as you talk about reels and different things like that, these shorter form videos, the fact that the young kids are coming up and they still want to have someone to look up to like you, but still have like that sort of unique, fresh eyes you're talking about, so they know they can still do their own shit, have a space for it, still ideate, still experiment. I think what you're getting at, and something that's important, is just like having a space where black people are allowed to fail and still be able to get up and continue. And for a very long time, I think our generation in particular, because we were one of the first ones going through it, it's like every failure felt like it was going to be the last one that you could make. And for us, I think it's important to give those kids coming up a space where they can be like, yo, you can make all the mistakes here and ain't nobody going to judge it from you. And you can still succeed in through making the mistakes. There's just something about like being young and black where you feel like you can't fuck up more than once.
But that's the thing. That's the fucking thing. Like, that's why we, like, as creators, I have to allow a space for the young creatives that I'm working with to actually be able to fuck up. And that shit cost me. Like, I had a situation most recently where that shit cost me. But I knew they got to learn, because if they did that with another production company that didn't have their interests at heart, they would just be like, not ever fucking working with them again. Don't ever give them another opportunity. Don't, you know what I mean? And I'm not gonna do that, because I understand where that mistake was, number one, because I also am a filmmaker myself, but it's just like, I want to tell you the situation, but I'm not.
You don't have to.
But it's, to be able to see some of the people in our community make certain mistakes and talk to them about it. And even when I make mistakes with somebody, you talk to me about it, it helps a lot, because I know, okay, that wasn't right, that wasn't cool. How do I do this? How do I go about this the right way? And then it just always leads to, you know, the next level.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. We may be able to end on that, the next level.
The next level.
You got more? You want to keep going?
No. I mean, I got some work to do. I need to take my ass back.
Okay, because I don't want to take up so much of your time. That's the reason why. Yo, thank you guys for joining. Man, I really appreciate it. Appreciate it. We're gonna get it up and visualize the first experiment.
Most definitely. And shout out to Kevin in here as well. Another dope photographer, DP. He understands you know.
About to shout him out on the video too.
Yeah,
You should
no,
get Kevin
shout out to
GK
you.
Frederick. We see you.
Yes.
Another West Indian brother.
You see me? Yeah, you
See
feel
me?
me? So he's also part of the community that we're all in right now. So big shouts to everybody that's doing that thing in film. Don't stop pushing the needle
real.
and just make dope shit from your heart. Peace.
About to guys. Thank you. Thanks for joining.